All right, I want to start the program off today talking about the body's stress management system. The stress management system that's housed in the adrenal glands. This stress management system is associated with all, and I do mean all, chronic degenerative disease states. The adrenal glands are two little iconic structures. They sit right on top of the kidney, hence the name adrenal, on top of the kidney, around the size of a walnut. They weigh about probably 5 grams or so. And they're responsible for a heck of a lot more than just helping us manage stress, although we do call them the stress glands. Stresses can basically be described as a disturbance in the body, something that raises or lowers the levels of chemicals in the body, and these ups and these downs are typically handled by the adrenal glands, which in essence pull the ups down and pull the downs back up. This is called a feedback system. It's kind of similar to how your thermostat works. Over time, these adrenal responses to stresses can become overwhelmed, and a condition called adrenal fatigue can kick in. The adrenal glands just get pooped out. They get fatigued. Earlier this week, Glenn Beck announced that he, like many millions of other Americans, is dealing with adrenal, what he refers to as a serious health crisis. Now, just exactly how serious this condition is questionable, because there's a lot of stuff you can do if you have adrenal fatigue issues. And by a lot of stuff, I mean a lot of stuff we can do ourselves. A lot of non-medical strategies we can use to help strengthen our adrenal glands and to help strengthen and make the stress response more robust. I think this is so important because many of us regard the stresses in our life as something to be avoided, and I think that this is not really an effective strategy. Stresses are just part of living in the sense that we're always going to have some kind of adjustment that needs to go on. There's always going to be some kind of stress. There's always going to be something that pulls the normal state of the chemistry of the body up or down, and there always is going to be some adjustment that needs to be made. Disturbances are part and parcel of life, and while we should be avoiding large disturbances, such as ingesting huge amounts of foods or sugars or toxins or smoking or drinking lots of alcohol, certainly small stresses are not something that we can avoid. Yesterday I saw an article in the Daily Guardian that talked about the so-called stress epidemic, and it actually referred to stress as the Black Plague of the 21st century. Now, I'm not meaning to diminish the significance of these chronic elevations in stress, but I think that by concentrating on stress itself as problematic, we miss a much more significant and larger issue that we have control over. We don't have control necessarily over the stresses in our life, with some exceptions, of course, but we do have a control over how we respond to stresses. In other words, how we handle stresses. What's supposed to happen under ideal conditions when we're laboring under some kind of stressful response environment is our emergency energy system will kick in with turbo energy, and at the same time, the emergency systems will kick in with building chemicals that will make us stronger so that the next time a stressor appears, an emergency response won't be as necessary. This building response ultimately should create a stronger and more vigorous body. In other words, in response to stresses, we should get better. As Nietzsche said in the 19th century, what doesn't kill you should make you stronger. Problem is that our stress system is way, way too overloaded in combination with nutritional deficiencies. And this is why I say we have control. We have a large measure of control over how we respond to these stresses, how we handle these stresses via nutrition, nutritional supplementation, dietary strategies, as well as lifestyle strategies. If you got salt cravings, low blood pressure, your skin is oily, you got problems sleeping, you're getting up in the middle of the night, anxiety, jitteriness, you have sexual dysfunction, erectile dysfunction, low sex drive, all of these are signs that there's a possible issue of adrenal fatigue going on. Puffiness under the eyes, breakouts, blotchiness, so-called hyperpigmentation or dark spots that just appear spontaneously on the skin. These are all signs that the adrenal glands are beginning to get stressed out. So what do? Well, number one, you got to avoid or you got to minimize your intake, how much stress-inducing foods that you eat. The most likely stress-inducing food suspects, of course, are going to be sugar foods and fast-burning carbohydrate foods. Not that you have to have zero tolerance necessarily for these kinds of foods, but if you're dealing with adrenal fatigue issues, if you have anxiety or insomnia, or if you got those blotchy spots that are starting to appear on your skin is really oily, it sure would be a good idea to at least reduce your intake of these kinds of adrenal gland sparking foods, sugars and refined carbohydrates and fast-burning carbohydrates and such. The second thing you could do is make sure you get on a good nutritional supplement program. Surprise, surprise. A good nutritional supplement program can go a long way towards improving any health challenge or any health condition, and certainly adrenal fatigue issues are no exception. There's lots of great nutrients for the adrenal glands, and there's lots of great nutrients for the adrenal glands that you can get in the Healthy Start Pack, especially vitamin C. Vitamin C is probably the single most important of all the adrenal gland nutrients. Vitamin C is probably the most important. I would say it is the most important vitamin for adrenal health. You want around at least 1,000 milligrams a day, which of course you'll get in your Beyond Tangy Tangerine. 2 scoops of BTT will get you 1,000 milligrams. If you do more, you'll get, of course, more, and there's no toxicity associated with vitamin C. And within reason, the more you take, the better off you're going to be. The B complex is also stupendously important for adrenal health, especially vitamins B12 and vitamin B5. And then magnesium and selenium also have a role to play in keeping the adrenal glands healthy. Long story short, my friends, if you're dealing with adrenal health issues, just like if you're dealing with any health challenges, there's a good nutritional supplement program that you can use to mitigate, soften, reduce the symptoms of whatever you're dealing with. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to the Dead Doctors Don't Lie program. We're coming back with more good health information and taking your phone calls as well at 831-685-1080 or toll-free 888-379-2552. Don't go away. Got more good health information coming at you right after this break. And I'll be sitting in for Doc today with my good friend and colleague, Douglas Winfrey. What is up, Doug?
Great to have you on again. I'm going to talk a little bit about prescription drugs, as I know that you're a big fan of those. Headline of this ABC News story is 6 prescription mistakes you're making. And I know you and I aren't
taking them in the first place.
That's taking the first mistake. So that really is 7. But, you and I aren't making these mistakes because we don't take prescription drugs. According to the Mayo...
And you know what, Doug? I want to say sometimes you need a prescription drug. Okay? Sometimes,
if you have
emergencies, antibiotics, pain pills. Every once in a while, if you have an emergency or pain pills or antibiotics, it's the chronic use of prescription drugs as opposed to taking care of the real problem that I have such a big issue with.
Well, listen to this statistic. Mayo Clinic, according to the Mayo Clinic, 70% of Americans take at least 1 prescription drug daily, and more than half take 2. And according to a CDC statistic, people over the age of 70 in the United States are 70% of them are taking at least 5 medications. According to the FDA, they report that they say medication errors cause at least 1 death every day and injure 1.3 million people annually. That's every year. And they get
what if they told you? What if they told you that if you flew this plane, 1.3 million people get injured by flying a plane every year? Would you ever fly in a plane?
No, I'd be riding on the train.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, they say the number 1 on their list is you get the brand name over the generic, and they point out how the generic, according to be approved by the FDA, has to have the same active ingredients. The only difference is the inactive ingredients. That comes from Kim Russo. She's the Chief Clinical Officer at VUCA Health and PharmD. And they say you mix your meds with the wrong foods. They say always check out to see if it has interactions with certain types of foods. Apparently grapefruit and grapefruit juice can have that negative reaction with up to 50 drugs that are currently on the market. So it can reduce or increase absorption, which could lead to an overdose. You shouldn't take it with calcium-rich foods because it interferes with your body's ability to absorb the medication. They say you don't check your Rx label, and you might get the wrong drugs, or you might get somebody else's prescription. It's always a good idea to open the bag, look at the label of the prescription, and if you don't recognize the pills, open it up and ask the pharmacist if it's the same stuff or if you're just getting it from a different generic manufacturer than your last prescription. They say you don't talk to your pharmacist. You should talk to your pharmacist about the side effects and the benefits and risks of taking these drugs. And then they go on to say you should store your meds in the wrong spots. They say the worst place to store your medications, and everyone I know who takes medications, this is where they store them, in the bathroom. Because they say moisture can degrade medicine. Also need to be protected from light, and they say put it in a dark place, especially if you use one of those pill organizers and it's clear. And they say some medications like insulin need to be refrigerated. And the last one on the list is you don't dispose of your meds properly. They say you shouldn't flush them down the toilet. They said only certain cardiac and seizure and hormone medications can be harmful to the environment. The FDA has a list of drugs that are okay to flush down the toilet. They recommend in this article put it in a plastic bag with kitty litter or used coffee grounds so the kids or pets won't eat them. There you go.
Hey, Well, you know what? I think you said medication mistake number 6 involved medication errors from the pharmacist, or number 5. And I'll tell you something, as a pharmacist, that's something we confront all the time, more times than you would think, according to Forbes magazine, an article from last year sometime. 1 million prescription mistakes every year, and this is a pharmacist's worst nightmare. I'm going to tell you a couple ways you can prevent getting a mistaken prescription and what to look for in a pharmacy and in a pharmacist to avoid medication mistakes when we come back from our break. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to the Dead Doctors Don't Lie program. We're coming back at you with more good health information and your phone calls as well right after this break. Don't go away. So, Douglas, mistakes happen in pharmacy far too often, and I have to say, when I was back in my dispensing days, haven't done it for a while, but back in my dispensing days, I made more than 1 or 2 boo-boos myself.
Oh, you
Luckily,
did?
Nothing bad ever happened. Yeah, I did.
Anybody die?
It happens to all. Nobody died. Nobody got sick. But it happens. It happens all the time. You guys, you don't realize this. If you're taking prescription medicine, here's the number one thing you want to do. I'll tell you a few things that you want to do. But number one, the first thing you want to do is you want to open the bottle and you want to look at it. And you want to make sure it's the right stuff if you've had it before. And if you haven't had it before, you want to make sure that everything matches up and the pharmacist looks at everything in front of you and he checks on it, because these mistakes just happen. It's just part and parcel of the process. You got a pharmacist who's trying to fill 100 prescriptions or more in a day. And that's a lot of work. And plus, this is really important. If you're getting prescriptions, you don't want to get them in a chain pharmacy. And I'll tell you why. Chain pharmacies are notorious for cutting costs wherever they can, and by wherever they can, I mean in places where we don't necessarily notice. And one of the easiest places where they can cut their costs is in labor in the pharmacy. And they already don't feel so bad about it because the pharmacist typically makes more money than the store manager at some of these places. So they don't really feel that bad about making the pharmacist work. But what they don't realize is when a pharmacist works, he can overwork. And when a pharmacist overworks, big boo-boos can happen. And I know this personally. And I know it from the chains personally. And I'm talking all the big chains. Now, there's a problem here because the chains have bought up all the little guys, the little independent pharmacies. But if you can find, number one, a pharmacist who's not really busy, who has a lot of help, but the help is just help, and the help isn't doing the work, and the pharmacist is checking the work, because that's another little trick that the pharmacies use, the chains use, is they'll hire a lot of so-called technicians and only one pharmacist to oversee the technicians, and that's almost as bad as an overworked pharmacist. So
yeah, last time I was in one of those, it looked like a bunch of high school kids.
Exactly, and the pharmacist supposedly is supposed to check everything. Well, that's not a situation you want as a patient. So you want to look for a pharmacist who's not too busy. You want to look for, you don't want to be spending time chit-chatting with the pharmacist, and you don't want him chit-chatting at all, for that matter. You don't want him on the phone. You don't want him multitasking. You want him focusing on your prescription and not working at a crazy pace. If you're on medication on a regular basis, and you really shouldn't be, if you're on medication, lifetime medication for some kind of chronic disease, the number one health challenge that anyone has when they're on a lot of medications is to get off those medications. But if you are on them and you're going regularly to the drugstore, go during off hours. Go in the first thing in the morning, late at night. Late at night, your pharmacist isn't going to be thrilled to see you, but at least he'll probably won't be overly busy, and that's a great time to make sure you're getting good attention. Ideally, look for an independent pharmacist. If you can find an independent pharmacist, even better, look for a pharmacist-owned pharmacy. In other words, the pharmacist owns the pharmacy, and he's got an extra incentive to make sure that you're taken care of in epic style. With every last detail is finely analyzed and finely checked out, and your prescription is perfectly manicured just for you to make sure it's just your prescription. The label is correct, the dosage is correct, and also the typing, the instructions are correct as well. And then last but not least, I don't think I heard you say this, Doug, correct me if I'm wrong, did you talk about interactions, medication interactions? That's a very important point as well.
Yeah, they mentioned that one.
Okay, so medication interactions, and I know you talked about grapefruit, and grapefruit is notorious for helping, for affecting how drugs are metabolized, but also there's certain drugs that interact with each other, and make sure the pharmacist is aware of those, not necessarily the doctor, because doctors miss that all the time. Okay, I'm Pharmacist Ben, sitting in for Dr. Wallach today, along with Doug Winfrey, and we are coming back with your phone calls on the Dead Doctors Don't Lie program. 831-685-1080 is our priority line number, 888-379-2552. Toll free, I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to the Dead Doctors Don't Lie program on the ZBS Radio Network. toll-free. Did that make sense, how I explained that, what to look for? I mean,
Yeah, I thought that was great advice.
Good deal. Now I'm not saying, as I said before, when you were speaking, Doug, when you were talking about that story, I'm not a complete Pollyannish about prescription medication, okay? There's times when you need them, and thank God for antibiotics, and everybody should have some Percocet in their medicine cabinet, in my opinion, or something like that, because you never know when you're going to need a pain pill, right? And it's a good idea to have them. But the idea of just dosing chronically is so anti-health on the face of it. It should be obvious to anybody who cares about the human body, whether it's a healthcare practitioner or whether it's a person taking drugs, caring about their own body. It should be so obvious that there's no way that you can avoid a negative burden on the body. There's no way you can avoid increasing the body's tendency to break down, putting a load on the body that the body doesn't need with one prescription drug, Douglas, let alone 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. And that's really why I personally stopped dispensing medication in a pharmacy setting, was because it's the old people and it's the young people who are getting most of the drugs. The average person gets something along the order of 12 to 15 drugs a year, right? Have you heard this statistic? It's like 4 billion or 3.4 billion prescriptions served in America.
Oh, yeah.
And it comes out to about 12 per year, 12 to 15 per year from the average American. Now, you don't take any, right, Doug? Okay,
No,
I don't take
haven't had
any.
a prescription drug in, I don't know, maybe
Right.
30 years.
Most people don't take any, but or occasionally 1 or 2. But the average person is taking 13, which is telling you that there's a small population, a concentration of people who are taking a lot of medication. And I know this is true as a pharmacist because I know these people. They would take, Doug, I'm not kidding you, 20 prescriptions or more at a time. They would drop a plastic bag with 20 bottles in it, just drop it on the counter. Just like that.
And you know that out of that many drugs, there's got to be some that don't that have negative interactions.
Of course. And when they test the toxicity of these things, Douglas, they don't test them how they interact with each other. They test them individually. You know what I'm saying? So when they're testing how toxic a medication is, they don't know how toxic it's going to be with 2 other medications taken together. The enzyme systems this is the important point when it comes to understanding the toxicity of drugs. This is the most important point. The body has to detoxify the substances. You have a miraculous system that we call the detoxification system, or detoxification enzymes, that's located in the liver, that does an incredible job detoxifying things and knows how to detoxify classes of chemicals, and including prescription drugs. But this system can become overloaded. And when it becomes overloaded because we're taking 1 drug, 2 drugs, 5 drugs, 10 drugs, 12 drugs on a chronic regular basis, that means we're more susceptible to toxicity from other places. In other words, by taking the drugs, we've created a net negative effect on our health, regardless of the statistical improvement that may show up. You lowered your hemoglobin A1C by so much, and you lowered your blood cholesterol and triglycerides by this much, and all these markers that they use, regardless of whatever those markers tell you, the common sense tells you there's no way you can avoid a negative health effect by chronically using prescription drugs. And that's all I'm going to say about that. That's my rant, high horse rant for today. Let's take some phone calls, Douglas. 831-685-1080 is our priority line number, or 888-379-2552, toll free. Who's on the line, Doug?
Well, let's head to Sacramento, California. And Henry, you're on with Pharmacist Ben Fuchs.
Henry.
Good morning, gentlemen, or afternoon, I should say.
What's going on, Henry?
Hey, listen, I kind of was on the internet and I stumbled into Dr. Wallach, and I'm on his product. They're incredible. I really love the product.
Very nice.
I have a friend whose wife has HD, and they're very concerned about it.
Has what? I didn't hear what you said. Say it one more time. HD?
Okay, I have a friend whose wife has HD.
Okay, what?
Huntington's disease.
Oh, Huntington's disease. Okay, hang tight. Don't go away. We're going to take a break. We'll come back with Henry and Huntington's disease, HD. I hadn't heard anybody say call that HD. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. We're coming back right after this. Don't go away. We're talking to Henry about Huntington's disease, and I have a hard time saying that, so we'll just call it HD. Here's the deal, Henry. You said this is a friend of yours?
Yes.
Okay, here's the deal. Movement disorders that involve the central nervous system have to be considered degenerative diseases of the nerves. The nerves are dying. Does that make sense?
Right.
and they're progressively dying. This is not how the body is designed. The body is not designed to degenerate. We wouldn't have survived through 500,000 years or more of evolution if the body fell apart like this. So when the body falls apart in any sense, and Huntington's is arthritis of the nervous system, okay? It's the same disease state. It's just happening in a different place. It doesn't matter where it's happening. It matters that it's happening. And it happens because of inflammatory factors that follow nutritional deficiencies, toxicity, and problems with blood sugar. And that's it. Okay? Nutritional deficiencies, I should say, and other deficiencies, other stressors on the body, deficiencies that stress the body. Oxygen is one of those, water, nutritional deficiencies. There's a whole, the body's missing something, and it doesn't have the, we're putting the wrong thing in. We're not getting the right stuff, we're putting the wrong stuff in. So number one, what do? You got to eliminate the wrong stuff, first and foremost, and that means food. And that means problem foods especially. Eliminate anything like gluten especially and factors that are in grains and problems that people react to. It's very, very likely that somebody who has Huntington's or any degenerative disease has long-standing digestive problems. Focus on eliminating problem foods, gluten, etc. Then start to patch up the gut with the Biolumin Nightly Essence, the Fucoidan Z. Make sure you're using your ultimate enzymes after meals. Make sure they're doing a little bit of apple cider vinegar as well. Then you're going to want to make sure that the blood sugar is stable, and you use the sweeties for that, and you stay away from the sweets, the fruit juices, and the insulin-spiking foods, the potatoes, and the standard American diet type foods, desserts, of course. You make sure you're breathing correctly, and then you make sure you're on the Mighty 90 essential nutrients, especially the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. You'll notice a dramatic improvements, I'm not going to say 100%, but dramatic improvements simply from the Beyond Tangy Tangerine if you just want to do one thing quickly. But I really encourage you to do all of those things. And the neat thing is, for people listening, is I didn't just tell people a strategy for dealing, I didn't just talk to Henry about a strategy for Huntington's. I talked about a strategy for pretty much all degenerative diseases, all of them. And you don't want to look at Huntington's or your particular flavor of disease as much as you want to look at the fact that the body is breaking down. And it always is the same thing because it breaks down generically. Does that make sense, Henry?
Yes, sir.
Mighty 90 Essential Nutrients, that's the Healthy Start Pack. Get yourself on the Biolumin Nightly Essence, the Z-Radical, and the digestive enzymes. And love that Z-Radical for all digestive health issues, all. It's amazing. It coats the digestive tract, speeds healing of the cells of the digestive tract. And if you like the Fucoidan Z, the Z-Radical, I guess, tastes a little bit better, but the Fucoidan Z is more concentrated. Thanks, Henry. Hope we helped. Who's next, Douglas?
Let's head to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And Doreen, you're on with Pharmacist Ben Fuchs.
Hey, Doreen.
Hello. Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing in Pittsburgh? Is it cold? Did you get that Arctic blast?
It started to snow.
Oh. What's going on? How can we help you?
So about a year and a half ago, I got pneumonia. And from then, I was suffering from asthma attacks every 3 to 4 hours. And I found out that I had a lot of food sensitivities as well as candida, and I eliminated a lot of all the foods and all the sugar and things like that. And
what'd you notice?
The asthma. Gosh, it helped dramatically.
Hang on. I'm not going to let you get away with that. Do you know how powerful what you just said was? Do you know that there's still millions of people that don't know that? What you experienced, and I've seen for the last 17 years personally, and what you experienced is something that millions of people don't know about, that most doctors don't know about, yet we know about it, you know about it, and can anybody tell you that's not true?
No.
Can anybody tell you that's
not true? And I will never go back to the medical
I hope we woke people up with just that sentence. That's so powerful. Go ahead. I'm sorry. What was your question?
Oh, no, that's okay. So I eliminated all the food sensitivities. I also received IVs for like hydrogen peroxide and vitamin C, and I got rid of the chronic cough. And I also received low-dose allergen shots, too, that seem to get rid of most of the food allergies. But I'm still having an asthma attack at night, somewhere between 12 and 2 a.m. And I'm not sure if it's environmental, because if I go to a different state and stay at a hotel, it doesn't work, and I don't have it.
You got blood sugar changes and hormone changes that occur throughout the night. Okay? Your body is working throughout the night in a cyclical fashion, and there's changes that occur in a cyclical fashion, and they can be disturbed. The correct kinds of ups and downs and cycles can be disturbed by the foods we eat, by stressors in our lives. So there's lots of things going on here. Most important thing, though, is that tells me that the body's still under some kind of duress. You're still under some kind of stress. And that's the first thing to think about when you have a condition is, where's the stressor coming into the body? Now, it could be a nutritional deficiency, and more than likely that is a component. And it could be blood sugar changes if you have any diabetes issues, pre-diabetes, or any hypoglycemia issues, and the chances are pretty good you do. And then it could have something to do with foods you're eating, and obviously you have some food issues there as well. So here's what I would do if I were you, okay? First of all, you should be doing, I hope you're doing the Mighty 90 and the Healthy Start Pack, correct?
Yes,
You should be if you're not.
I've been on it for 6 weeks, and I've also been taking like the Ultimate Daily and the De-Stress and
Good job. Good, you're doing great.
And Cell Shield, but I don't see a difference.
Throw in, well, heck yeah, you see a difference. Your asthma's going away. Now, part of it is because of the foods that you're eliminating, but a lot of it is you're starting to get nutriated here. So here's a couple more things that you want to do, because something's still disturbing the system. Look for some more food issues. You may not have cleared that up completely, okay? So look for some more food issues and start using digestive support. The most important supplement, and the Mighty 90 is obviously critical and important, but in a way, the most important supplement you could take is called the Biolumin Nightly Essence. It's good bacteria, and these bacteria are the core of everything, especially when it comes to the immune system and when it comes to inflammation, both of which are involved in asthma and in breathing problems. So I would be focusing first and foremost on it's called the microbiome, which is a fancy way of saying the bugs that live in your gut. Okay, the bugs that live in your intestine, the bacteria, germs, whatever you want to call them, that live in your intestine, they process nutrients for us, they extract energy from food for us, they fight cancer, they crowd out the bad bacteria, they help support the growth of the intestinal lining. Once those get thrown off, and if you haven't fixed those from your long-standing food issues, very good chance that you still have dysbiosis. Are you on a probiotic?
Yes, I am. I take 2 a day.
What do you take? Is it how much do you take? Is it like
it's 800. What is it? Wait, I have to look. I can't.
Okay, well, here's what you want to do. Don't worry about it. You want to take a high dose of it. You want about 100,000. If I were you, I'd be taking 100 billion units. I'm sorry, 100 billion units, and I'd be taking one with multiple strains a day. And I love the Biolumin Nightly Essence. That's the all-time best one. Are you on the Z Radical? Are you taking the Fucoid and Z?
No,
or the
I'm
Z
not.
Start taking that. That's going to make a big difference as well. And then look for the food issue. Look for start using the Ultimate Enzymes after meals if you're not, and maybe some apple cider vinegar. And then stabilize that blood sugar. Always very important. And we got to motivate here. I hope I helped you out. Thanks so much for calling, Doreen in Pittsburgh. Let's see if we get one more call in, Doug.
All right, let's head to Washington State. And Kathy, you're on with Pharmacist Ben Fuchs.
Kathy, what's going on?
Hi, my name is Kathy, of course, and I have a friend. Her name is Barbara, and she had a stroke, and she's diabetic type 2,
Okay.
and she was dealing with high blood pressure. They couldn't get her blood down.
You want to fix her up? We should fix her up, okay? Me and you. You ready? This is how we're going to... Here's the good news. Got some good news here. That's a lady who's going to respond to nutrition really quickly. Who did you say this was? A friend?
Yes, she's a friend of mine.
She's going to respond to nutrition really quickly. Get ready to be a hero, okay? And this is one of the neatest things about the body. The sicker we are and the more fallen apart we are and the more nutritionally deficient we are, the faster we turn it around. I love that. I love that. And I'll show you what I mean when we come back from our break. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Got a couple lines open at 831-685-1080 or 888-379-2552. You're listening to the Dead Doctors Don't Lie program on the ZBS Radio Network. We'll be back after this. All right, we're back on the Dead Doctors Don't Lie program. Kathy, are you there, ma'am?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so here's the scoop. The way your friend, you said your friend is kind of breaking down there, is she is breaking down in a generic fashion. This is how the body breaks down, with the blood sugar system first breaking down. That's the diabetes issue, and then the circulatory system. It all starts off with the digestive system, so you got to really work there. But first and foremost, this is a woman who's burning through nutrients at a rapid clip, and if she's not supplementing, as soon as she puts some nutrients in there, it's going to be just. Can you picture a rose or a flower that's all wilted, and then you put water in it, and the flower just kind of blossoms and blooms? That's what's going to happen. Okay, get her on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine right away. First of all, she's going to want the whole Healthy Start pack. But the Beyond Tangy Tangerine can be, because it's liquid, can be super quick acting for her, and she'll notice results quickly, especially with the vitamin C and the B complex and the electrolytes, potassium and such, sodium, magnesium, etc. So have her sipping. That's really important. Sipping on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, okay? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Right, I know what you're talking
Okay.
about.
Okay, good. Okay, good. And then the whole Healthy Start Pack. Do have her get on the Ultimate Daily. Maybe double up on that, couple a day, if she can, or if she wants to. And then also the selenium, absolutely the selenium, the Ultimate Selenium, maybe 200 to 400 micrograms a day. And then probably the the Fucoidan Z, which is the capsules. That would be a little bit more effective for her. And then if she has any digestive issues, have her paying attention to those, like seeing what she has problems, linking them up to foods and then eliminating those foods. If she wants to throw in the Biolumin Nightly Essence, that would be awesome, awesome, awesome. And then she should also be using a couple of sweeties after all of her meals. And I can guarantee you that if she does everything I just said, she's going to notice results, and she's going to notice results, positive results, more energy. She's going to have better blood pressure. She's going to have better blood sugar control. She won't be as hungry. She'll lose weight. All those kinds of things beginning within days, for sure, and then certainly within weeks. Okay?
Okay, one more question.
Yes, my dear.
Okay. My niece and my girlfriend both was diagnosed with lupus.
Okay.
And at the beginning stage.
Okay. You want help with that?
Yes.
Okay, that's an autoimmune disease, right? That means the body attacks itself. The first suspect when the body attacks itself is food that has snuck in through the defenses, through the digestive tract defensive system and entered into the blood. That initiates this kind of defensive response in there. And once that defensive response kicks in, it's a short jump to the defensive response happening to the organs and the structures of the body. In the case of lupus, it's particularly hideous because it affects the entire connective tissue anywhere in the body, really. You could have a problem. It's really one of the worst. And what it is something sneaking into the body through the digestive system. You've got to focus on food, number one, and patching up the gut. That's the most important strategy. Of course, the Healthy Start Pack, that's always foundational. But then all the Biolumin Nightly Essence, looking for problem foods. The Jordan Rubin probiotic products are great for fasting. You guys, don't underestimate the power of a good fast. It's very helpful, and the Swear of V is a really easy way to do it. Have you done that yet, Douglas, the Swear of V fast?
No.
It's amazing, and it's real easy to do. So get some Swear of V and have them skip a day of eating, or have them eat less. Even eating less is a great strategy. And then, of course, the Healthy Start Pack, that goes without saying. The Ultimate Selenium probably wouldn't be a bad idea if you wanted to throw one more thing in. The digestive enzymes after meals and between meals all has a really neat anti-inflammatory effect that may be beneficial for lupus. And then there's one more thing. Oh, yeah, there's one more thing I was going to say, and I forgot what it was. But that'll have to do you. Okay?
You need the Memory FX.
Probably a little bit. There's so many things. You guys, that's really the bottom line. You know, Douglas, it's one thing. I can give you ideas and recommendations, and we can all give you our take on things, but the take-home message, the bottom line message is that we have options. And nobody's teaching us this. Nobody's telling us this. You know what I mean, Doug? It's like we're sick, we think we only have one thing to do, and that's go to the doctor. And now we have a government that is complicit in making sure that this belief system is entrenched for generations. For generations to come, people are going to say, diagnostics and Obamacare and insurance, and that's just how you take care of health. Well, we're here to say, myself and Dr. Wallach and everybody at Longevity is here to say that you have options. We all have options, and good nutrition is the foundation of an alternative vision of how to take care of your body. Thanks for listening, folks. I'm Pharmacist Ben for Doug Winfrey and all the folks at CBS and Doc Wallach. Have yourselves an awesome, spectacular, wonderful day. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye for now.